It's Talk Point again on Lagos Television, and we're very, very happy that you can link up with us. My name is Opeoluwa Rosanwo. Today on Talk Point, we'll be looking at youth and national development. Any society that desires to grow must play prominence, must give attention to the youth, as they make up 50 to 60% of Nigeria's population also. And the productivity level cannot be emphasized enough, hence the need to always put them in the scheme of things. Recall that in the 60s and the early 70s, we had so many youths that took part in governance, although they are now older. But at that particular period, they took part in governance, unlike what is obtainable today. How can the youths get more involved, and how can they get busy to ensure that they contribute their quota to national development? That is what we'll be discussing today, and I have a guest in the studio that will be joining me to discuss that. I have Opeoluwa Taiwo, a youth advocate and also a social affairs commentator. Ope, how are you doing?
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you.
Nice having you on Talk Point.
Good to be here again.
Yes, joining us via Zoom, I have Elijah Ajanu. He's a civil society activist. Elijah, how are you doing?
Very well. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. It's nice having you join us on Talk Point again.
Same here, the player.
Yes, let me just hold on and I'll come back to you. Let me get to the studio. When we say youth, who are those that we classify as youth, and what are the age brackets of this classification, so that we can start off from there?
All right, thank you. That's always a major point when you talk about the youth bracket, talking about the age, talking about their functionality and the dynamism. So, as of today in Nigeria, we're talking about between 15 years of age to 35 years of age. But according to United Nations, it has been streamlined because of the 21st century challenges and peculiarities. So, as of today, United Nations is talking about between the age of 15 years to 25 years. That is the gap the youth United Nations is looking at going forward in 21st century.
Yes, if you say 15 to 25 years, where do you place those that are 30, 35, up to 45, who are also in the category up to some point 48, 49, 50? Some still categorize themselves as youth. Where do you place that?
When we talk about figures, figures does not work with sentiment. Figures talk about data. Talk about a sequence. All right, and this sequence has to be as a result of programs, planning, activities, policies. Now, as of today, we are talking about 70.6% of youth in Nigeria. And out of that 70.6, that 70.6 is divided into 60-40. 60 for 15 to 25 years of age. Okay. So the remaining part of the percentage is for the 35 and above. So what does that mean? The programs, the policy of the government for a man or a young man of 20 years is different from the policy of a young man of 35 years, because their aspiration, their yearning, their agitation are totally different, not the same thing.
Okay.
So a young man of 20 years is looking for IT. Is looking towards what? Training. Is looking towards what? Empowerment.
Okay, let me just hold your pause there. I'll get back to you. Elijah, how are you?
Very well.
Yes, what's your own definition when we say youth? Your own definition. I know you are far past 40 years of age. Do you still regard yourself as a youth?
Yeah, well, I'm still very much a youth, in the sense that what makes one a youth? A youth is someone who is very much energetic, who is restless, who has a lot of energy to cross miles, to cross oceans in achieving his or her goals in life. That is my own definition of youth. And of course, there are some young men and women that age-wise they are young, but in their thought pattern, with their ideals, with their perspective towards life, they are old. They are old. They do not fall into the age of the class of being youth. Whereas there are some persons that even at the age of 70 or 60 or 70, they are very much youthful. They are very much restless. They still have a lot of energy to achieve their set out goals, aims, and objectives in life. So to me, plus and minus, a youth in age may not be a youth in heart, whereas a youth in heart may not be a youth in age.
Okay, that's your own definition of a youth. Because from what you have said now, I can pick that you're still saying that even somebody that is 60 or so, or less than 60, is still a youth at heart, depending on the aspirations, the way and the ability that he or she can put into the system to make the difference. But my guest in the studio has given a different perspective to that. He has said from 15 to about 30, 35 from data that he has presented are the youths. Do you agree with this?
Well, to a large extent, I may agree if it is in line with global best practices, where I would align with that. But the reality is that there are some persons that even the experience what they have encountered.
Okay, I think we're having some maybe technical challenges there, maybe network challenges. We're trying to see if we can still reach out to Elijah Ajanu, a civil society activist who is joining us via Zoom. But let me come to the studio here to Tunde. He just said what Elijah said there. So I think he's trying to adjust to what your definition of use is. I think we are linking up with
actually, you can reach them to be in the same age class, I mean, with their mindset, with their thought pattern, with their approach towards issues of life, with those who have even exceeded the age of 50. For instance, it is as a student of history, General Yakubu Gowon became a military head of state before the age of 30, 29 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And even at that age, because if my memory serves me right, he wasn't even married at that time. But it was when he became a head of state that he had to get married, so that because the way a married person will approach issues of life is quite different from the way a single person will do.
Okay.
And the way General Yakubu administered the affairs of the country at that time, I do not think the youth of today can measure up with what he did. And that tells you about experience in life. And of course, people will say that, how do you get experience when people don't give you, when those who have occupied a governance do not give chance to younger ones? Okay, those experiences will not come.
Yes. Let me just quickly hold your thoughts there and take some contributions from Opeoluwa in the studio. Elijah is saying that you citing the existence of General Yakubu Gowon, that he came on board, yes, and he spends close to 9 years as the military head of state. Now, in those periods, can we still bring back youth that will come into governance properly? Because you find out that youths these days are not too much involved, although some governors are trying to bring more youths to serve in their cabinet, like ditto at the national level. How can the youths get more involved in governance for better Nigeria?
All right, that's a good one. When we talk about youth, talk about them being involved in national development. Also talk about involved in the economic development of Nigeria. Now, two things are involved. Number one, there's angle of empowerment. That is, the older generation empowering the younger generation in the succession plan of the development process. All right? That's one pattern. There's another pattern whereby the youth themselves opening up their mind, opening up their capacity into what? Into that space of leadership. Because in the 21st century, we discovered that as at 18th century, you can be influenced into leadership. In 19th century, you can be coerced into leadership. But in 21st century, nobody will influence into leadership. You have to take ownership right from yourself. It's within. It's not necessarily that you have to wait until a governor is mentoring you. Because even the governor is looking for mentorship. So if you are waiting for the governor to mentor you, then you're not ready for business of the 21st century. So leadership capacity, leadership development of Nigeria, the youth need to get involved, not necessarily waiting for the influence of those already in power. Because if they influence you, it is possible that it might be negative influence or positive influence as a result of what? Their own capacity in leadership. Because leadership is not about position. So an armed robber can be in position. He's not a leader. So if an armed robber is in position and such a man is trying to influence you to come into position, you automatically become the same pattern of your mentor. So the youth must understand that don't wait for any leader or any position occupant, in quotes, to bring you into power. You have to open up your mind. You have to open up your tenacity. You have to open up your action, intentional action in terms of education, in terms of skill development. There are a lot of skills that you can develop that make you a global leader. Recently, we saw the success story of an artist, a young artist, just 15 years old. Now,
He broke the world record.
what record? A 15-year-old, that's what I'm saying. Youth starts for 15. A 15-year-old boy broken the record, an artist for that matter. So what does that mean? The global stage is open to all the youths. But are we ready? But the question is, are we ready? The answer is that you must be ready, whether we like it or not.
Okay, Elijah, I'm going to come to you now too, but let me quickly ask this. Why I'm doing this because you just mentioned that now. Now, some days back, some youths gathered across the federation. You understand that they want to take it back. That's what they use in quotes. We want to take it back. The take back movement. What are they asking for? They're asking for human rights restoration properly. They're asking for repealing of the Cybercrime Act and other stuff. But in even presenting that, do they have to get to that point? Do they have to get on the streets before they were now dispersed to make their points known? Couldn't it have been done in another way?
Like I said earlier, in the economy of the 21st century, two things are involved. We talk about the two dynamics of economy. That is the structural economy and the functional economy. Now, the youth that are coming out on the street, take it back. Are they fighting the structure or they are fighting the functionalism of the economy? Those are two things entirely. When we talk about what? The structure, all right? We are talking about what? The policies. We are talking about the what? The programs of the government. All right? Then when we talk about the function, you are talking about the activities, the labor, the capital. You are talking about different activities within the economy that make up the GDP. So which one are we fighting? Are you fighting the structure or you are fighting the functionalism of the government? So if you don't understand these two parts of the government or economy, then even taking it back, what are you taking back? If you don't understand what you are fighting, then you are not taking anything back. So it's possible that it's a mirage. And that is why sometimes some people are on the street. I have been on the street before, so it's not a new thing for any youth to be on the street. I've been on the street before, either in the school, either within the society, but with an ideology, with a pressing figure within an economy. If you don't know what you are fighting for, there's nothing for you to take back. It will only become a mirage. So what are they taking back? They must understand what they are actually taking back. If you don't understand what you are taking back, then it's possible that somebody has just sponsored you to come and take a mirage, and that mirage might lead to something unforeseen contingencies. It's only government that, and that is why you can see that the security agency swing into action. You can even see in the video some of the youth fighting the security agency. That is not acceptable under the law. It is not. As a youth, I dare not fight a security agent, all in the name of protest. It is not acceptable.
Okay, Elijah, you're a civil society activist, and you are in the you've been in that movement for decades. What my guest in the studio is saying is that there must be ideology, there must be certain things that they are asking for from government to be able to say these are the things we want. But from your own perspective, how is it now possible? Because do we say now that what they did on Monday or some days back wasn't right because they had to be dispersed?
Well, it is laughable that in a democratic system of government that peaceful protesters would be dispersed by security personnel. The the demands of the organizers of Take It Back, it's quite simple, it's explicit. They are saying that the Cyber Security Act should be amended, should be repealed, or Cyber Act also should be amended in the sense that you don't gag dissent in democracy. You don't gag those who have a contrary view, perception, opinion about programs and policies of the government. You don't gag them, you don't frustrate them, you don't arrest, dehumanize, and jail them for voicing out their different view or their own view about programs and policies of the government.
Okay.
In a democracy.
Okay, yes, in as much as I agree with you, but that must also be done within the confines of the law. If they do not breach any piece which I also agree with you. Now, time is not really on our side. I'd like to ask you one question more, but let me quickly come to the studio. How can the youth use technology to develop as we round up now?
All right, technology in the 21st century for the youth is a medium. It's a medium to the global stage. It's a medium of business activities. It's a medium to influence the policies, the programs of the government. It's a medium to understand the dictate, the tenets of the law. It's a medium to do what? To expand the food chain of Nigeria. It's a medium to multiply whatever resources that we have. Take, for instance, we have different natural resources in Nigeria. Instead of me getting busy on the street every day trying to protest, how many resources is available in my own space? Is it not possible that I use that technology to do what? To enhance and to visualize and to express myself globally that these are the resources I have at my domain. If this and this point is being taken by the government, more economic empowerment will come to our own space. That is what the youth is expected.
Okay, I think we can no longer take questions again. Time is not really on our side. Elijah, I want to thank you so much for being part of Talk Point. Thank you for joining us via Zoom.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Yes, thank you so much, Opeoluwa Taiwo, for also joining us on Talk Point.
Yeah, good to be here once again.
Yes, on that note, we've come to the end of Talk Point. 767 and 112 still remain the lines to call in times of emergency. Stay out of trouble. Ensure that you do what is right and contribute your own quota to the development of Nigeria so that the country can remain very, very right and be an envy among the committee of states in the world. I am Opeoluwa Rosawu, signing out.
Hajaratu Gambo Sawaba was a politician, philanthropist, and human rights activist born in February 1933 in Niger State. In Hausa culture, a child born after twins is traditionally called Gambo, similar to the Yoruba naming custom where such a child is called Ido. From an early age, Sawaba exhibited a strong fighting spirit. Growing up in northern Nigeria during the 1930s and 1940s, she often intervened in children's disputes, always standing up for the underdog. However, tragedy struck when she lost both parents at the tender age of 13 during the World War II. At just 17 years old, Sawaba entered politics. She became the deputy chairman of the Great Nigeria People's Party (GNPP) and was also elected leader of the National Women's Wing of the Northern Element Progressive Union (NEPU). After her election, her political mentor, Malam Aminu Kano, gave her the name Sawaba, meaning freedom or redemption, as a reflection of her dedication to justice and equality. Sawaba's activism came at a great personal cost. In Zaria Central Prison, she was publicly flogged, stripped naked, and endured the shame of having her hair shaved with a broken bottle. She was sentenced to 80 lashes for her bold advocacy. Sawaba campaigned tirelessly against child marriage, forced and unpaid labor, unfair taxation, and women's rights, including access to education, jobs, and voting rights. Despite societal constraints, she defied the practice of puda, visiting women in their homes to raise awareness about their rights. These angered conservative authorities, and in 1952, she was charged in a Kano magistrate court for drawing out women in puda. She was sentenced to 3 months in prison, her first of 16 incarcerations. Throughout her career, Sawaba served prison sentences in Kano, Zaria, Kaduna, and Jos. Despite her relentless effort, she did not achieve electoral success in the parties she joined. Disillusioned with the shifting priorities in politics, she retired from active politics in 1998, lamenting that it had become a game of self-interest rather than ideology. Beyond politics, Sawaba was a dedicated philanthropist championing gender equality and social justice. Her activism earned her the title of the most jailed Nigerian female politician. Hajaratu Gambo Sawaba passed away in 2001 at the age of 68 in Zaria.
You are watching Lagos Television, the voice of Lagos. Lagos Television, the voice of Lagos.